Oh, all right. Okay. All right. All right, we got that out of the way, so let's get on with the review. But hey, how's it going, everybody? It's Brandon. Welcome back to Marotta Media. In today's video, I will be reviewing a movie that I have been looking forward to for what feels like the longest time, and I finally get a chance to talk about it, and I cannot express to you just how excited I am. That movie being Dune Part 2. Dune Part 2 picks up right where the first movie left off. We follow Paul Atreides and his mother, Lady Jessica, follow the Fremen into the wild environment that is Arrakis. And along the way, Paul learns the ways of the Fremen and bonds with them and even forms some relationships, while also forming a plot of revenge for those who conspired against his family in the first movie. Like most people, I have been absolutely ecstatic for this movie ever since the first Dune came out in 2021. If you guys have been following me for a while, you will know that Dune Part 1 was my favorite movie of 2021. I adore that movie. A lot of people say it's really slow, boring, or they fell asleep while watching it, and to those people I say I'm sorry that there wasn't any Subway Surfers gameplay or Family Guy clips playing simultaneously while you were watching the first Dune movie. Because I think that movie is near perfection, and I own it on 4K, and I'm so happy that I do. And I was really looking forward to watching Dune Part 2 a few months ago in November of 2023, but unfortunately due to the actors' strikes, the movie was delayed until March of this year. And even though I was getting annoyed and very impatient with the release of this movie, I knew that it was going to be worth it in the end. And I actually went to an early screening of this movie because I could not wait until opening weekend. I was that eager to watch it. And when I went into the theater to watch Dune Part 2, I walked out of that theater a changed man. Because not only does Dune Part 2 improve upon its predecessor in just about every single way, this is definitely going to be the best movie of 2024 and possibly one of the greatest sci-fi movies ever made. If anything tops Dune Part 2 as my top spot for my favorite movie of the year, I will be absolutely shocked. And that night when I saw the early screening couldn't have gotten any better because as you can see, I got one of those infamous popcorn buckets. I could not go to a screening of this movie without getting one. And I also got this awesome IMAX poster that they were handing people at the door as they came in. And I can't wait to get it framed and hang it up because this movie deserves to have a place on my wall somewhere. I'm honestly not even sure where to begin because there is just so many incredible things in this movie that I want to talk about. So let's just start with the acting. Don't get me wrong, the first Dune had incredible acting performances, but none of them really blew me away, and I said, yeah, those were good performances, but I wouldn't give any of them an Oscar. That was most certainly not the case when it came to Dune Part 2. Everybody in this star-studded ensemble cast is incredible and just absolutely perfect. There is not one bad performance in this entire movie. I'm not exaggerating. Literally everybody does an incredible job. Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya, Rebecca Ferguson, Austin Butler, Léa Seydoux, Stellan Skarsgård, Dave Bautista, Florence Pugh, Christopher Walken. I think I'm forgetting a few people here and there, I'm sorry, but literally everybody in this movie does an amazing job. But easily the standouts were Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya, Rebecca Ferguson, and Austin Butler. Timothée Chalamet is an actor that has gotten a lot of hate in his career, and I don't really understand why, because I think that guy is very talented. Let's not forget he was nominated for an Oscar a few years ago for his performance in Call Me By Your Name, and I think he deserved it because he was stupendous in that movie. And his career has only skyrocketed from here. Just last year, he did an amazing job as Willy Wonka in the Wonka prequel. And I really loved that movie too. It was on my best movies of 2023. But I'm not kidding you, and I wholeheartedly mean this. Dune Part 2 is without question the best performance of Timothée Chalamet's career. Paul Atreides is a very complicated character, and it would be very difficult to pull off a good performance for this character. But Timmy pulls it off amazingly. He commands your attention every time he is on screen. And seeing the evolution of Paul's character from this quiet, kind of reserved boy in the first movie to what he becomes in Dune Part 2 is one of the most amazing pieces of character development that I have seen occur on screen. And it's not just him, because Austin Butler appears in this movie and Rebecca Ferguson returns as her role as Lady Jessica, and both of them are just absolutely frightening. Austin Butler plays Fade Rotha, who is the nephew of Baron Harkonnen, played by Stellan Skarsgård. He did not appear in the first movie, but when he appears in this movie, just like Timmy, he commands your attention. This is a guy that you do not want to fuck with. He is a sociopathic, homicidal lunatic. And Rebecca Ferguson's character, Lady Jessica, also has amazing character development. She was a lot more quiet in the first movie too, but seeing what she becomes in this movie, kind of like a cult leader almost, it's frightening. And we knew that she was eventually going to become the Reverend Mother that she does in this movie, because Paul constantly has visions in the first movie of what she was going to become. And Zendaya as Chani gets so much more screen time in this movie because, as we all know, in the first movie she didn't have a ton of screen time. She appeared throughout just in like visions and then at the end, and that's the only time we ever see her. And I have not read the books, but Zendaya's character Chani has a huge character change in this movie as opposed to the books. And it adds an extra bit of drama with her relationship and romance with Paul. Oh, and one name I forgot to mention was Javier Bardem, who returns in this movie as Stilgar. And Stilgar has become the biggest meme on the internet over the last week. And a big reason for that is that Stilgar is actually very funny in this movie. The first Dune movie, I think, made me laugh here and there, but I laughed quite a bit in Dune Part 2. The humor is very endearing and very funny. And a big reason for that is Stilgar himself, so props to Javier Bardem for bringing an unexpected element of humor to this very serious film. And lastly, I have to mention Christopher Walken, because I did have some doubts whether he would be able to pull off his performance as the Emperor, but I think he did a really good job. I've seen some people say that he was miscast in this role, and I can understand why, because there are times when, you know, he's supposed to be threatening and that classic Christopher Walken voice kind of comes through. So you're saying that this Muad'Dib is ruining our spices and the development. I need to put a stop to this. We need to take over Arrakis once again. That's probably a horrible Walken impression, but, you know, whatever. But overall, I think he did a great, great job in this movie. But something that has not changed from the first Dune film is that Dune Part 2 is just masterful from a technical standpoint. The first Dune was amazing technically, and it won several Oscars like cinematography, visual effects, production design, and editing. And if this movie does not win all of those same awards at next year's Oscars, then it would be an absolute travesty. But once again, the incredible cinematography has returned and in some ways looks even better than it did in the first Dune. Greg Fraser is one of the best cinematographers working today, and I feel like he is not talked about nearly enough as he should be. Just the sheer scope of everything that we are shown on Arrakis is nothing short of mesmerizing. And it's not just Arrakis, because we actually venture into different worlds like the Emperor's homeworld, which name escapes me right now, but as well as Gedi Prime, the homeworld of the Harkonnens, but I'll get more to that later. The visual effects remain incredible. When we see a sandworm on screen, dude, it just, I can't put into words just how perfect it looks. The sound is absolutely deafening, but in the best way possible. And the editing once again remains incredible, and the set design is so gorgeous. It's very meticulous and detailed, and I just want to know how they came up with these set ideas and how they built them. But Dune Part 2 made me appreciate the first movie even more, because I think that movie did a miraculous job setting up everything and establishing the world and how it works. because it further expands on the ideas and the themes that were only briefly mentioned in the first movie. Themes of religion, power, mob mentality, and the dangers of blind faith. And all these characters have different ideas and beliefs, and even though they're on the same side, they don't always see eye to eye, which causes them to clash with one another. One of these plot points being the Fremen themselves. The Fremen don't exactly all agree with one another because there are different types of Fremen, some from the north and some from the south. I might be mixing it up, but I believe they said that Stilgar, played by Javier Bardem, is from the north, and the northern Fremen believe in Lisan al-Gaib, or translated to English as the voice from the outer world. So they believe in some messiah-type figure that will come and save them, but Chani and all these younger Fremen are from the south, and they think that that prophecy and messiah stuff is all bullshit. So it causes infighting between these people who are a part of the same tribe and on the same side. So that added this extra bit of spice, see what I did there, to the relationships between these characters. And like I said, it's not just Arrakis, but we also see bits of different worlds like Gedi Prime, which is the home world of House Harkonnen. And this is where we're first introduced to Feyd-Rautha, played by Austin Butler. And one of the coolest details about this home world is the black and white element of it. In the trailers, like most people, I personally thought that the black and white moments were flashbacks of some kind. But when it's revealed that the world is black and white because that is the natural light of the sun of that planet, I just find that so creative and fascinating. Because we're in this gladiator Colosseum type setting where Feyd is fighting these last remaining members of House Atreides. And it's just this huge spectacle because there's this huge crowd of people. The Baron is watching from his booth, and there's like these fireworks that are going off, but the fireworks are almost like ink blotches. It kind of looks like a pen exploding in midair, if that makes any sense. And as I was walking out of the theater with my friends once the movie was over, one of my friends even said that entire scene on Gedi Prime was just a work of art. Everything about it was incredible, and I could not agree more. And as I'm watching movies like this, I truly wonder how guys like Denis Villeneuve are able to direct it and keep everything in order and just not have it be a total clusterfuck. I would never be able to do that. I think it's nothing short of an accomplishment that he didn't lose his mind directing this movie. Kind of like how Peter Jackson did when he was directing the Hobbit movies. There is just so much detail and love and attention put into every aspect of this film. And what I'm about to say is going to sound so lame and so cheesy and very sappy, but I don't care because it's how I truly felt, and I pride myself on being honest. But as I was watching this movie, there was just a moment where I started to feel very emotional. Almost like I was getting choked up and I could feel myself on the verge of crying. There wasn't anything particularly emotional happening in the movie, but just I was so in awe of what I was watching. It truly felt like I was watching an event, a huge moment in history. And a lot of people have used these comparisons, but I think they're so accurate. I really thought to myself, is this how people felt in 1980 when The Empire Strikes Back came out? Is this how people felt in 2002 when Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers came out? The closest thing that I think I could describe my feelings that Dune Part Two gave me would maybe be The Dark Knight and possibly Avengers Infinity War, two movies that I love, but I think those are the closest feelings that I have to how this movie made me feel. But the way Dune Part 2 made me feel is night and day compared to The Dark Knight and Infinity War, but nothing against those movies because I do think they're great. Again, with saying something so lame and cheesy, but this honestly felt like a moment that I would tell my grandchildren about, telling them that I was there. I saw Dune Part 2 early access fan screening, and it was unlike anything that I've ever witnessed in my life. And I've seen so many people on the internet who saw this movie early being accused of, quote, glazing and being paid off to say that this movie is good. Because people are just having such a hard time accepting the fact that Dune Part 2 really is that fantastic and really that perfect. And I can promise you people, at the time of recording this video, I have less than 400 subscribers on YouTube, and I have about 1,700 followers on TikTok where I also review movies. And I have not seen one penny from anybody telling me to review this movie positively. It's just that good, and I want to talk about how good it is, because this movie made me feel like something I've never felt before in my life. I don't know how much of a review this is, or just me talking about how much I loved it, but that's really all I have to say about Dune Part 2. I promise you people, this movie really is that good, and it is that worth it. If you have a chance to see this movie, see it on the biggest screen possible. Go see it in IMAX. Go see it in Dolby. Go see it in, I don't know, 40X. Any other formats you can find that would warrant you to watch a movie like this. If you're one of those people that says, no, I'll just wait till it's out on streaming, you are doing it wrong. You might as well never watch this movie if you're just gonna wait till it's out on streaming. This is an event, a moment in history that everybody needs to go and see on the biggest screen possible if you haven't already. I've only seen this movie once, and I feel like that's not enough. I want to watch it as many times as possible before it leaves theaters. I cannot sing the praises of this movie enough. I loved it so much. It was worth the wait. It's worth the hype. Everything that people are saying about it is 100% correct. And I am very comfortable giving Dune Part 2 a whopping 10 out of motherfucking 10. It deserves it. It's perfect. And anything below that is just blasphemous. Alright, I think I've sang this movie's praises enough, so thank you everybody for watching my review of Dune Part 2. If you guys have seen this movie, tell me how much you loved it, or hell, if you didn't think it was that good, tell me why. I would really love to know. But if you guys like this review, please be sure to hit that thumbs up, and do not forget to subscribe. If you want to see my previous reviews, I will link those right over here. Other than that, I hope you all have a tremendous rest of your day, and I will see you all next time. Long live the fighters. Go see Dune Part 2.